This is Brindlewood Bay, the ninth step, part 3. So last time we had concluded Dad Overboard, or Which Vitch is Which, and we started Decorative Gore season. And just as a little recap about Decorative Gore season, this is the one that takes place at the Pumpkin Mart. And there's a kind of a central family, the Billingsleys, who run this place. There is Dad Mort, son Mort Jr., or MJ, Grace, the mom. There is Charity Haverton, the Mort's sister-in-law, Charity or Grace's sister, and then there's another son, Todd, and then Desmond. There's also a couple of employees that are not part of the family, but who are employees of the place, Zoe Grant and Al Diaz. Desmond Billingsley, his body was found strung up in the scarecrow, little scarecrow field where they were doing, kids were making scarecrows for a contest. And that kicked off the murder investigation. There are a couple of representatives from the local sheriff's department here, one in a formal capacity, Spratt, and another in an informal capacity, Brett Anderson. Spratt is not going to be a problem because of some tactics used by Muriel, but Brett's probably not going to be a problem either because he's Brett Anderson. He's not very good at his job, so I wouldn't worry about him either. Nevertheless, all that said, the Mavens did begin an investigation. You did learn a couple of things, well, one of which hasn't been revealed yet, but you have one clue that's revealed, which is that apparently Zoe Grant and Mort Jr. are a thing. And this might be a secret thing because they were out in the pumpkin patch talking about something and then they kissed. Kind of strange behavior given that MJ's uncle was found strung up as scarecrow, not long before. There's another clue as well that we're going to reveal as soon as we start play, but I want to check in with the Mavens first. Oh, and also you have 2 void clues currently. Checking in with the Mavens. Conditions are, you are actually starting to stack up a few little conditions here. I'll remind you that if you want to clear those, you have to do the cozy move. And I'm very expansive and open to suggestions when it comes to what qualifies as the cozy move and what qualifies as an intimate moment between the Mavens. So don't feel like you have to be like back home doing a thing or whatever, right? Okay, and so with all that said, I also want to point out that a few other details about the scene. Corinne Waitley is on scene. Corinne, we don't know. Well, she says she's there because, oh, you're all together. And I just happen to be at the Pumpkin Mart. And now that you're all here, why don't you come to the ninth step and do this little promo thing that she's been trying to convince you all to do for weeks? So that's a thing. And apparently she's still like, in her words, occasionally staying with Alice, but Alice seems to intimate that it's a little bit more than occasional. I think there's some dispute there about what's actually going on. And then there was an explosion right at the end of the session. There was an explosion in the kitchen. We don't know the precise nature of that yet, but we do know that Charity Haverton was in the kitchen when it happened and got injured. We don't know how badly yet. She's not dead because when they were wheeling her out, she was alive. It's probably really fortunate that the volunteer ambulance crew was already there because of Desmond. And so, if you're going to get caught in an explosion, best to have it while emergency services are present. And that's sort of where we're at. I do want to kind of just figure out where all the Mavens are in time and space before we begin. I know that Rosemary is in the Scarecrow display and has found a clue, and we're going to talk about that first thing. Doll, where are you when the explosion happens?
I think I was leaving the room where the explosion happened, I believe.
You were talking to Grace in the office, I think.
Oh yeah, I'd already left. Yes, I
Yeah,
was.
yeah, and it was downstairs because you heard the explosion downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. And where was Muriel during this time?
The last thing I recall was that I was stymieing Hank Spratt and getting him away, so I could really be anywhere. I don't think we said previously.
I think that's fair. And then I think when we saw Alice was outside talking to Corinne when it happened. So Good. I'll remind you of just a few things and places in the mystery, which might be helpful to know. You have not actually gone and investigated the pumpkin patch itself yet, though you did see MJ and Zoe share a kiss there. There is also Charity's loft. She lived above the bakery, and so that you have access to that, especially now that Charity's in the hospital, I suppose. You might go follow up with Charity, obviously, in the hospital. And then, yeah, that's basically, that's kind of what's kind of going on right now. So, are there any questions or anything we need to discuss before we begin? Awesome.
Actually, real quick, Charity, she was the one who I was familiar with Muriel was, right? Because like we were both like herb minded.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I got the impression that maybe the two of you had a connection over this previously. Yeah. That was my impression of the situation. Yes, Charity's a big fan of all sorts of plants and one in particular. So great. All right. She was also the baker of the baked goods as well, which I think is supposed to be Jim's joke. She's the baker. She's always baked. Okay, yeah. We see what you did there, Jim. All right, so let's just pick up with Rosemary then, if there's nothing else. Rosemary, you're looking at the body / scarecrow that is Desmond Billingsley before the explosion happens, and having sort of brushed Brett Anderson off. And I'm going to tell you what you find, which is weird, but maybe has renewed interest to you given what is about to happen, i.e. the explosion. You find tucked inside the shirt with the body burnt donuts. Badly burnt pumpkin donuts, seemingly hastily discarded with the body in the pumpkin or in the scarecrow. It's a weird thing. But that's your clue.
Like, are the donuts in the mouth or are they in like a pocket?
They were like in a sack crammed into the chest cavity, or like the, like the little like shirt of the scarecrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not like his chest. So that's a strange detail. Obviously, it had to have happened when whoever burnt these donuts, it was before this explosion, but I do wonder if there's a connection between the two somehow. So with all that said, what do you do once you hear the explosion, Rosemary?
I am rushing over to the explosion, like, holy shit, what's the fuck is going on?
I think by the time you cross the yard, the volunteer emergency services people are already like kind of rushing in there and kind of taking control of the situation. Muriel, once you hear the explosion, what do you do?
Is it obvious to Muriel that the explosion came from the kitchen?
Yes.
Her first immediate thought is Charity's in danger, is running across the field towards the source of the explosion.
Fantastic. I love it. And what about you, Alice? What are you going to do?
I think Alice is going to do a classic West Virginia University Mountaineer special and stiff arm Corinne out of the way, and just say, "Corinne's nobody's got time for this shit," and just gonna like stiff arm and like turn camera out, and seeing that the emergency service is there, Muriel is running, everything like that. I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time, which I know is kind of stagnant, but like, I'm kind of in a good position to see if there's anybody walking away from this site that's like, looks calm. Like, it does not seem freaked out by an explosion just happening in a pumpkin patch. Like, if there anybody just like, yeah, no, this is fine.
You can do the meddling move with composure, I would say.
Got it.
Given that you're kind of reacting in the moment here.
Yeah.
I am going to make you take it at disadvantage because I'm chilled to the bone. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
we're
one
gonna
person walking around this field who's just like, oh, the attractions here have gotten way more exciting.
I think it's Corinne. It was Corinne previously.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Corinne's just like murder and everything. This is amazing. Oh my goodness. No, yeah, this is okay, disadvantage. Okay, I need you to stop. Sorry, my cat got excited by the dice rolling. Okay, that's not too bad. That is a 9
Okay.
with my added 1. So yeah, not too bad.
I
Could've
am
been
going
worse.
to separate you from the group as the
Okay.
complication, because what happens is I think as you all arrive, one of the emergency services people says, we need someone to sit back in the truck with Charity. Can someone hit you? Can you just ride to the hospital with her? To Alice.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just gonna be like looking around and scanning, and be like, yeah, sure, I reckon if it's really necessary.
I'll
Is
give
that
you-
necessary?
I think it would help keep her calm, and that can only help. I'm going to give you a clue. As you're getting into the ambulance, you notice actually you don't see a person, but you do see something that's kind of strange in the backyard of the Pumpkin Mart, which is really just a kind of a big house that's been, kind of redone. There is on the ground what would have been a breathtakingly perfect blue Hubbard squash, smashed and left to rot.
No.
A weird detail.
Yeah.
But the rest of you, Rosemary, Doll, and Muriel, after Alice and Charity are getting into the back of the ambulance and driving off, the three of you are together. So let's just pick up at that scene.
What on earth is even going on?
Do you think they had a gas stove? Maybe they left the gas on.
That was a gas explosion, Dolly.
Aren't they removing gas stoves from like places nowadays? Like it's
Well,
been in the news.
If they're gonna have explosions like that, they really should.
It's
Yeah.
not as ladies, all this blathering about gas stoves and whatnot, that doesn't matter. We got to go make sure that if there's anything in the kitchen, we need to see if there's anything left behind. There could be signs of this great sabotage.
But
I also
what if
want
there
to point
was-
out that Doll's very close to getting a guest appearance on Tucker Carlson right now. So just wanna throw that out there.
I'm modeling Doll after a lot of older women I know. So, well, if we go in there and there is some sort of explosive gas, we won't be very safe. Does anyone have a gas mask or anything on them?
I think with the explosion, it should be fine for now. Because like,
yeah,
Is that
Yeah,
how it works?
the explosion already happened, Doll. Now we can go look around the remains. I didn't think it's going to explode twice.
You all go into the explosion room, and you enjoy your poison gas. I'm just gonna go check out Charity's place, I think.
You take a look around her loft. Oh, she has a tendency to hide things away in small little nooks and crannies. No reason why I know that. So just be extra perceptive.
Well, I'll try, I suppose. Goodness. Don't die.
I think you have a basic problem, which is that Todd, in the absence of any police, because we don't know where Spratt went, and Deputy Brett is just like, he's probably running in the opposite direction presently. In the absence of any other authorities, one of the emergency services people set Hot Todd at the back door where the kitchen is, and to like guard the door to not let anybody in. So what are you gonna do about that?
Wasn't Rosemary and Muriel the ones who were like rolling their eyes at Hot Todd last session too?
Yeah.
Oh, great! This is gonna be great. This is gonna be really fun.
He says, I'm really sorry, Ms. McGregor. Rosemary, what's your surname? Do you have a surname?
Hold on, I have to look it up. I do have it on the sheet. It's Mortimer.
Okay. Oh, Ms. Mortimer, Ms. McGregor, I'm sorry, but I can't let anybody come back here. It's not safe. There's nobody else in there. Everything is well, apart from the explosion, I think everything is under control.
Todd, listen. We need to find out what's going on. There's been a murder. There's been an explosion. The police aren't doing anything. Like, you've got Sprat who's running around after like this Karen who's screaming her head off about stuff, and you've got the deputy beach cop who's practically just like besides himself with the whole thing. Like, we need to do something, and if you're going to stand in our way, well, we're going to have to force you to move.
I think that would be a day move with presence. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
Hot Todd is taller than me, and he's just gonna push
Pick
me
you up,
away.
yeah.
Just like take me away.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead and roll with presence. Let's see how that goes.
Just gonna pick you up in those big, strong arms that he uses to lift pumpkins and all other manner of farm equipment.
Yeah.
Hold you gently as he steps into the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Muriel's
Hey.
just gonna roll her eyes at this.
One Maven's day move is another Maven's cozy move.
Exactly. Right.
Do I have disadvantage because I do have a lot of conditions?
Not on this particular roll, no.
Okay. And it's with presence. That's an 8.
Okay. I think the complication is, we'll have to tell you how you'll be vulnerable if you continue.
Hmm.
I think how you're going to be vulnerable if you continue is that Hot Todd insists on coming with you.
It's fine. He can hold stuff. Like, that's not a problem.
He says, okay, well, I definitely know you ladies have a reputation. And I think it's great that you want to help out. And I guess just don't tell Sprat, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to stay with you as well.
Yeah. It's like, who would want to tell Sprat anything? Like, these guys.
I didn't think any of the witnesses Sprat's talking to up the road are telling him anything.
He's like, I don't know what you just said, but let's just go in then, okay? And he will lead you in. And we'll come back to that. Doll, you're up in Charity's loft. I think we have a paint the scene here. So her loft is filled with psychedelic posters, the distinct smell of pot mingled with pumpkin pie spice. There is a statue of the goddess Kali, sunglasses fixed over their eyes. Let's paint the scene. What souvenirs from her days on the road does Charity display to remind her of the fun she had back then? You'll recall she's a deadhead.
Charity has a pair of broken Birkenstocks that she swears belonged to Jerry Garcia, that she saw him play live in 1978. And it was wonderful. Once in a lifetime. Jerry just really made that guitar sing. And those Birkenstocks, they flew almost like angels carried them directly to me.
She has a little quilt made out of all of her band t-shirts that she collected over the years, all of her Grateful Dead shirts. Instead of it being on her bed, though, she has it set up like a sort of tent so she could hotbox in her room.
There's a couple pieces of furniture here, like a set of drawers, but for the most stuff, like any storage space is just roadie equipment, like big black boxes with latches and what have you, and all that. It has like, they're covered with stickers over the years. Some of them are starting to peel a little bit, but then they got covered with more stickers.
How old is Charity again?
I mean, they're probably like, I mean, they've got to be like in their mid 50s or late 50s, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking that Charity has a a framed photograph portrait of Bob Weir, who it is signed thanks for the memories, heart, Bobby.
Nice. Well, so Doll, you're in the charities space. What do you do?
Well, I'm going to take the advice of my friend Alice, who said to look in nooks and crannies, and I think I'm going to see if there's any nooks and crannies. I think from having many children, one of the places that I would look first is between the mattress and the box spring. That's where kids like to hide. They're
Sure. Yeah.
usually it's porno mags, but the other stuff too.
Go ahead and do the meddling move with, I would say with reason. And because of shaken, I'm going to put you at disadvantage.
I don't have my dice out. So this is going to take me 1 second.
We'll cut over to
Thanks.
Alice for a bit. Alice, Charity's going in and out. I wouldn't say she's lucid, but she's not unconscious either.
Uh-huh.
And she's just kind of like, oh, what happened? This is in the back of the ambulance. What's going on? My pies. What?
I think, oh man, as much as I would want to take this time, because there's no better time to scrapbook than in the back of an ambulance. Charity's going off about her pies. Alice is gonna say, "Hey, Charity, is everything all right? Like, there's an explosion, and it came from the kitchen, I believe. I don't know. Everything seems so wild and all over the place. Do you know what happened?"
Here, I think we'll do the meddling move with, I think it's probably composure,
Mhm.
just because you're not really trying to impress upon her. You're more just trying to like keep her kind of,
Keep her focused.
focused. Yeah.
That is 12.
12.
11 plus 1.
Oh, good. She takes your hand and she says, "Oh, Grace, th- thank you for everything. You helped me when nobody else would. You and Mort, you're a good sister. And she's kind of, so she thinks you're Grace, and she's kind of
Mhm.
going on for a bit. We'll come back to this in a moment. Doll, I gather you rolled dice. What'd you get?
I got a 6.
A 6. Let me think about this for a moment. So while you are poking around, you are regrettably going to discover that Charity, during her many sort of like road activities, at some point got into the hobby of collecting snakes. You notice the empty terrarium first, and the lid is off. That itself might be clue. I don't know, but it's not a capital C clue, but it's interesting. And then as you bend down, you see the snake. It's a rattlesnake for some reason on the ground. Why does Charity have a rattlesnake? I don't know.
Probably
But
for psychedelic reasons.
there's no telling. But you hear the distinct rattle. What do you do?
Scream. Yeah.
That seems like that is a reaction.
Not a very good reaction. I think I scream, and I think I'll probably just start grabbing things off the shelves and throwing them at the snake.
Very good. I think this is going to be the day move with composure. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
The snake is going to get extra mad and bite me.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to happen. Let's talk about your I think with being, well, no, what do you have condition wise? You have shaken. Oh yeah, I'm going to put you disadvantage again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
You need to
that's
get that. You need
reasonable.
to shake that condition.
Oh my goodness, that is a 4.
Oh no, it is getting so bad, doll. Doll, the viper or the rattlesnake lashes out, bites you. You are envenomed and you collapse to the ground. It's not good because no one's here to find you.
No.
And are you going to mark a crown?
I'm going to mark a crowd.
Okay. Instead, I think you just have to leave the room, which you can certainly do.
Screaming.
Yeah. Let's cut back over to Muriel and Rosemary and Hot Todd.
Mm-hmm.
The explosion actually didn't do an incredible amount of damage. There's stuff like kind of strewn about, of course. And the locus of the explosion was definitely the oven. That much is clear. It was a gas oven. It could have been just an accident.
My goodness.
But in any case, what do you do?
Now, see, this is why like you need electric ovens nowadays. It's just terribly dangerous.
I don't know about that. I've had a gas stove in my pub all my life that I've owned it, and it never exploded on me once. I think these American-made pipes are the real cause.
Hot Todd says, well, there are some people I follow on Twitter who are convinced that there's a conspiracy to take away gas stoves and force everybody into electric. I don't know if that's true or not, but
It's literally they explode.
Never mind all that. I'm gonna start sifting through like things like lifting. Has anything like big or heavy like fallen over that like I can begin like dragging?
Yeah, definitely. Todd will help you. He's not going to let you do that by yourself.
I will absolutely be like, no, young man, I've got this.
You can do the meddling move with vitality.
That's exactly what I'm angling for.
Okay, good. Go for it.
I took for my advance, I took VI Warshawski, so my vitality's gone up.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
All right. I don't think being marked by Zay Langmore will apply, so I'll just actually, do I have any items I want to use? No. Okay, just roll the 2 dice. Oh, it's so bad. It's a 5.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I think all that's going to happen is you're just going to overextend yourself and you're going to like kind of pull a muscle in your back. And so if you're okay with that, then it'll be what it is. And you'll have to be kind of like escorted gingerly back out to the backyard.
You know what? I would be tempted to put on a crown, but I really just kind of like that I talked a big game and then immediately pulled my back. So I'm gonna keep that. Is that a condition?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I think Todd's like, okay, and he's like, it's really heavy, Ms. McGregor. You know that, right? Yeah, it doesn't go well. It barely gets like an inch off the ground at this like, cabinet or whatever that or this like shelf that you're trying to lift, and you cry out in pain. And Todd's like, oh, see, this is, here, come on. And he's like, takes your arm and he's like following you
and
or leading you out.
Yeah, while Todd's leading me out, I look over my shoulder to Rosemary and I give a very pained wink.
Rosemary, what do you do after Muriel's being helped out of the kitchen.
As they both leave the kitchen, I'm taking a look around and first things first, since I have not been in here before, what is about to happen? Rather, could I rephrase this as what has happened?
You can know. I think you can ask what is about to happen, and I'll
Mm.
give you an answer there.
Mhm.
What is about to happen is that Todd is going to come back in and insist you leave as well. Why? Because suddenly this is turning into a liability thing with elderly women and older women of all stripes getting injured today at the Pumpkin Mart. So yeah.
Jeez. Okay, well, I have to make a quick and speedy look around. Like, I'm checking cabinets, I'm looking under things. I'm not moving them.
You can do a meddling move with composure.
That is a 3.
A 3. Yeah, this is not going great. I think what's going to happen is that it's going to be even worse than what I've just described. Mort is going to basically clear out the Pumpkin Mart. I mean, everybody's got to go. This is too much to happen today. He's going to, first of all, Doll is running downstairs from Charity's loft screaming. So there's something going on there. Muriel has hurt herself in the kitchen. Rosemary's still poking around. None of you guys have any business back there. His brother's dead and his sister-in-law is in the hospital. It is time to close shop. And so everyone is just being ushered out.
I'm going to put on a crown.
Okay. Instead, I will say that you will find your clue. You will find your clue. I'm not going to add any extra complication to it. We'll just have it be a hit. Since you marked a crown.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your clue. You're looking around. You see on the work table that Charity was in the middle of making a pie that an engagement ring box was going to be baked into. So she was doing that for someone, or maybe, I don't know, who knows who it was for. That's not clear. But you see the little velvet box inside a pie crust, surrounded by apple pie filling. It's a little weird. That's why it stands out probably. But that's your clue. Doll, you come screaming downstairs. You see Muriel being tended to by Hot Todd. Muriel's kind of like, hunched over. What are the two of you doing?
Muriel, are you okay?
I tried to lift the shelf and it pulled my back.
What?
I tried to lift the shelf and pulled me back.
Oh,
I tried to help her, Ms. Ryan. She insisted on doing it herself.
we should grab a hot water bottle and fill it with hot salt water, and that would probably push it on her muscles.
He's like, okay. And I think at this point, Grace has also come around to the back. You know, she's the whole family is very, very stressed out right now. Al Diaz, actually, because he's a real go-getter and he's Johnny on it, and he's like already there with like something to put on your back, Muriel.
Thank you, Al Diaz. You've been scarcely around the place. Where have you been running about?
It's like, well, I was up just pulling receipts and stuff when the explosion happened, or when the body was found. There's a lot going on today, actually. And are you good? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, great. Okay.
Well, in that case, I don't want to be in here anymore. There's a big fucking snake upstairs. Excuse my language, but
Alejandro says,
it's a
"Oh,
BFS.
Oh yeah, Charity. Well, you don't have to worry about that. It's just it's not venomous. It's just a garden snake. It's no big deal.
I don't care if it's venomous or poisonous or whatever. It's a big rattlesnake and it was scary and I'm not staying in this place. I'm
He's
going
like, it's
out.
definitely not a rattlesnake.
Then why was it rattling at me?
I don't know. There is a snake. It's not a rattlesnake. And confusion abounds.
I don't like it when young whippersnappers like you question my
No, I don't
statements.
doubt that you saw what
You
you saw, Ms.
do.
Ryan. No, I
You do, in
don't.
fact, doubt it. You just
No,
said that you doubt it.
I'm just saying that Charity didn't have a rattlesnake. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, you're coming upstairs with me right now, young man.
No, I don't want to see a rattlesnake either. I believe that
No.
there's a rattlesnake up there now. I'm just saying she did
Up.
not have one previously.
March up those stairs.
He's like, I'm not.
Now.
He's like, no, if there really is a rattlesnake, I'm not. We need to call animal control. We might as we've got all the other emergency services out here today.
Oh, and now it might be a rattlesnake instead of a garden snake?
No, I agreed with you. It was probably always a rattlesnake. I'm just saying Charity did not have a rattlesnake before.
Do you think the rattlesnake ate the other snake?
I don't know how snakes work.
Neither do I.
Meanwhile, back in the ambulance. I owe you a clue and a void clue, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So she says to you, she believes your grace, recall.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I'm sorry, Grace. I'm so sorry. I feel like I've been nothing but a burden to you and your beautiful family ever since I got here.
Hey, no, I wouldn't say that at all, Charity. You've done a great job providing baked goods for many people that typically would burn out once they left high school. So, I mean, it's a great alternative to what you're. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I just want you to know that I'm Grace. I don't know if this is any consolation to you. And she says, but I know about Mort.
Well, shit. Of course you know about Mort, Charity.
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me about it? Grace, I'm your sister.
What would I keep from my sister, silly? What
Well,
about Mortimer could I possibly keep from you?
Well, his diagnosis, for one thing. I don't understand why you wouldn't tell me.
Well, you see, the nature of medical conditions is a very private thing that shouldn't be shared just so willingly and freely with people without, proper consent and everything. But I guess since you got me dead to rights now.
And then she's sort of like, she's just like, I don't, he needs to be made, if it really is inoperable, he needs to be made comfortable. And I know the right way to make him comfortable.
I'm sure you do. You have quite a bit of fresh baked goods and gummies that could just make him feel so good to the end. You know what? How about we talk about this when you wake up?
She's unconscious at this point.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is great. All right. I'm just gonna sit back and go, oh no.
As they are pulling her out of the ambulance, and as you get out with her, at the little I wouldn't call it a hospital, it's more of just like a kind of one of those like kind of little emergency clinics. They'll do a quick diagnosis and see if they have to ship her to Boston or not, medevac her.
Okay.
Walk by.
All right.
It's a 5-legged dog. Just, it's got one leg that doesn't do anything, just sort of hangs there.
Okay.
Almost like it was maybe 2 dogs in the womb, and there's just this dog left. Strange thing. Not enough to provoke a roll of keeping your calm or anything. Just a strange thing.
I think Alice is going to just gently just
Take a
snap.
picture. Yeah.
Just snap.
Indeed. I love it.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's a lot of information to have for the day. Speaking about chronic illnesses and things like that and inoperable things, I think Alice is going to spend a nice, quiet time in the hospital waiting room, just scrapbooking. Just going to go ahead and start taking some of the instant photos that I have and putting them in the book.
You want to call up one of the mavens, you can get a cozy move out of it, probably.
I mean, I could use a doctor to look at my back.
Yeah.
Muriel comes in like 30 minutes later.
30 minutes later, I'm like, oh, Muriel, you poor thing. Come on down here. Yeah. Hey, sit down. Hey, I got some hospital coffee and some cheese curls. If you want to have some of that there.
No, on the curls. I'll take the coffee though.
Oh, all right. Here. How about you tell me which of these 2 photos makes for a better kind of like cover or our day at the pumpkin patch, that kind of thing. I've got Rosemary that's holding up 2 pumpkins that look seemingly like some other kind of. You get it. You get the joke. And then also, I have this other photo of Doll where she's just staring at Hot Todd, and I don't know which one would be better for like a.
That's actually a really good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think while she's like paying attention to the scrapbook, Alice is like digging her hand kind of in that rough spot in her back, just kind of like, there you go. Just focus on that a little bit.
That's good. We'll resolve the move in a bit. Let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back into that. We're back. We'll pick up that scene with Alice and Muriel in a bit. Doll, Alejandro is not going to go upstairs to where there is maybe a rattlesnake. He will, however, do the prudent thing and go call animal services. Rosemary and Doll, I think probably Mortimer and Grace will be a little beside themselves if you try to keep poking around various parts of the house and things at this point. They won't stop you from investigating, I guess, out in the fields or whatever, if you wanted to do that. So what are you doing right now?
Well, let's go over to the pumpkin patch away from everybody, just so we can just get clear on what we've discovered so far, because
I'll join you.
Yeah, because Doll, you've been just screaming your head off for like the past 10 minutes.
There was a rattlesnake. It was huge. It was like 10 feet long. And sorry, I still haven't gotten the handle of imperial measurements, but I'm pretty sure it was 10 feet long and 150 pounds.
Was it bigger than your arm?
By a long shot, and a lot longer too.
I don't think that was a rattlesnake. That sounds like a boa.
Like that movie. The movie about the big scary snake. Oh, one of my children made me watch that. It was terrifying. I couldn't sleep for weeks.
Yeah, I think The
Jungle Book, that's what it is. That's what it was called. Whew. Terrifying.
Let's talk about the pumpkin patch. There are rows of fat gourds, most of them orange or yellow, but also some unusual colors like blue and white. Prior to all this chaos, there were small children trying to pick up pumpkins bigger than themselves and families artfully arranged for photographs. Presently, there are just a couple of grumpy dowagers wrapped in quilts and clutching steaming mugs of cider, arguing about whether dark purple is a fall color. And as I paint the scene, well, first of all, has anyone marked the pallid mask?
Not yet.
No? Okay, then. Let's paint the scene. Apart from all the gourds and things, what other signs of abundant life do we see out here in the pumpkin patch?
As Rosemary and Doll are trudging through, it's a bit of a muddy day, and the earthworms are coming up and just crawling through the pumpkins and whatnot.
If you look closely, you can see little mice and voles scattering through the underbrush, and some large birds circling overhead, their shadows casting down, looking for a nice little lunch.
I think we see a trail of ants slowly just crawling, making their way towards maybe some snacks or something that has fallen in the ensuing kind of chaos.
I think we see a family of squirrels who are very tenaciously hopping around the pumpkins, finding ones that have kind of burst open and are rooting around in it, pulling little seeds out of the drying guts, and just, having a bit of a feast.
Well, so Doll and Rosemary, we can pick up that scene, or if you want to go ahead and just start telling me how you're investigating, you can do that too.
Like, I understand that some of the movies nowadays can be quite a little bit scary, but frankly, they're actually quite good for raising funds for the less fortunate. And I bring out a pamphlet of a charity movie night for little kids and what have you.
Oh, some of these movies are terrifying for children.
I think children can handle a few scares. It builds up character.
Well, I don't know. Look at this. Look at this. This movie, The Lion King. That's horrifying. That's a horrifying
Lions are
movie.
notoriously terrifying.
Right. What kind of king is a lion? What are we teaching these children?
It's a more child-friendly version of Hamlet. It's
Hamlet? Do you know what happens in Shakespeare plays?
Yes, I've seen quite a few of them. They're very entertaining.
Yes, but they're not for children.
Of course, that's why you make child versions of them.
Oh, I feel... Well, I suppose it gets my mind off the snakes. Feeling scared for the poor composure of these children. Goodness. I don't know how to make this a cozy scene.
I tried.
Yes.
I tried so hard.
Is that what was going on there?
Yes. That was a good try, I think.
I'm into it. I didn't pick up on the pamphlet thing, but I'm into it. I think it qualifies. So let's take a look at conditions first. So Doll, I mean, are you feeling less shaken as a result of this conversation? I don't know if you are.
I think I'm less shaken about snakes and more shaken about, the horrible things that we expose children to.
Well, that's okay to be shaken about. So yeah, you can go ahead and clear that. And then
because that's not real.
Rosemary, you can maybe make a case for either of your conditions. What do you think?
I think I'm getting rid of being watched because I'm moving away from crowds of people, and it looks like I'm quote unquote stopped investigating things. So
yeah. You're just comforting your stressed out friend. Good. I love that. And it is your cozy activity, so you get to stumble on a clue as well, Rosemary. You get to define the clue, so be thinking about what you think that is. Speaking of cozy moves, let's cut over to Alice and Muriel. Muriel, I think you're certainly can clear your injured back. I think that's no problem whatsoever. And Alice, you can maybe make a case for either of yours as well.
Yeah, I believe Alice is no longer chilled to the bone.
Yeah. That
Feeling
sounds-
pretty warm. Got over there. Alice was just like, one time, Trooper, he got in that garden and he just bent down too quickly, pick up some peppers, and you just hear I heard the crack all the way from the front porch.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. My old pa back on my homestead, he was once picking from our garden for breakfast one morning, and he bent over, and I thought the fence post had broken down.
Geez, these men folk, they gotta get way better about bending with the knees and everything,
It's with the knees, not the back.
I know, they just yank all over the place. I tell you, Trooper, quite a bit of yanking all over the place. I tell you, just tossing me around to and fro, and I'm like, you gotta put the compress on there, sweetie.
I mean, I'm the one to judge. I threw Gavin around like he was a wet rag.
I believe it, Gavin. From the pictures I saw, Gavin, he seemed to be a bit wee, right?
No, Gavin was about actually she's sitting down, but then she's like
stands up.
That's about here, actually. Aye.
Absolutely wild. In the photos, you always look taller than him.
Well, Gavin liked to sit down.
I get it. Being that tall, I understand completely. I understand. Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. Alice, you also get to create or find a clue, which you get to define, Wes. So be thinking of your clue. It cannot automatically conclusively solve the mystery, but it can it can definitely lean in one direction if you want to do that.
Got it.
So what did you find, Rosemary?
I think as we're walking through the pumpkin patch, like there is like some of the gourds and like pumpkins, they start to be like crushed, like someone stepped on them, and like as we're getting further, like there is just this huge like pile of mash, like as though someone fell down here. And I think in the mash we find a blood spattered wrench.
Very nice. That is a clue. That is definitely a clue.
I use my Encyclopedia Brown move here as well.
Oh, sure. What's your trivia?
I think as we are kind of combing through this mess of squashed pumpkins and there's a bloody wrench, Doll notices that it's not all pumpkins in this patch. There's other types of squash and gourds. Rosemary, do you see that over there? Did you know that pumpkins are a part of the cucumber family? All squash are, really, but so are loofahs. Like the ones you wash with. And there's a whole patch of loofahs right over there.
Why are loofahs being grown here?
I know, it's not a really good environment for them. Isn't that strange?
It is strange that they would be growing loofah gourds. Who knows? There might be more going on with Pumpkin Mart than we realize. Yeah. That's your clue.
Secret loofah patch.
Secret loofah patch. So you have at this point, once we check in with Alice, you'll be up to 8 clues. Alice, what clue did you stumble on?
I think as Alice is going to get up to get more coffee, Alice overhears one of the doctors talking about how I'm trying to phrase this so that it's not too specific. But Charity had been somebody that's known for being a little bit, outer space case, but was drugged by something. Charity was slipped something. But the doctors are like, knowing Charity, she probably just slipped herself or something like that, or got a little bit too excessive. But it seems that Charity had been slipped something. Yeah.
Very interesting. I guess they would have been able to find this out so quickly. I mean, I guess like a fast blood is our blood test that can reveal such a thing quickly. There must.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
just this, yeah. And it's just like the I think it's like the characteristic effects of just like looking at her eyes,
Dilated eyes and all that. But yeah,
dilated eyes.
yeah.
It's like she's on something.
Right.
It's like
yeah.
it's yeah.
And
Oh,
they
and, like,
know
we-
charities thing, like, and it's not what she's normally on, right? Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
And like,
okay.
since we were interacting with her, we know she wasn't on something that was doing that to her. Like, okay,
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. Okay, so you're now up to 8 clues. Are you feeling like you want to come together to theorize, or do you want to poke around a little more?
What's everybody else feeling?
I feel like Doll and Rosemary can go and see how Alice and Muriel are doing at the hospital.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
chat it out. Yeah,
Mhm. I
talk it
think we
over.
should meet up at the hospital. I don't think we need to do any sneaking around the farm at night to see what we can find.
No, there's snakes out here. It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
I
Yeah,
think
Huge.
Doll and Muriel, or Doll and Rosemary, the little clinic where they took Muriel and Charity, it's in the village,
Mhm.
and it basically is just like an old sailor's home that's been converted, like many of the buildings down here.
Mhm.
And Doll and Rosemary, when you kind of get down to the village, you see Corinne Waitley. She's coming out of Oberton's Antiques, which is a kind of a big deal antique store in the area, and it's been in the village for many years. It's run by a pair of twins, the Overton twins, and they tend to do like silent auctions they're kind of famous for their silent auctions that they run. And Corinne comes out and she sees the two of you and she says, "Hi, we just keep running into each other, me and the murder mavens."
I'm quickly speed walking away.
Oh, hi, Corinne. I'm just sort of like, why did you leave me, Rosemary? It's lovely to see you again. Are you shopping for antiques? That's a surprise. Where would you put them?
She says, "Oh, no, well, this this building, this antique store, it actually used to belong to a family member of mine, a great uncle who lived in Brindlewood Bay back in the mid 19th century. His name was Atticus Waitley. This was his house. I just like to come by sometimes to be reminded of it. He actually did some very interesting work inside this house. I don't know if you know or not. Atticus Waitley was very intrigued in the idea of alternate realities and parallel planes of existence. He actually believed that Brindlewood Bay was at the nexus of several ley lines, invisible lines that connect places of power in the world. And so Brindlewood Bay, therefore, was a place of great spiritual power itself. It's all very silly metaphysical nonsense, of course, but, well, he used to hold meetings here. His fellow astral explorers, they would come here. He was also a bit of a photography enthusiast, like our dear Alice as well.
Oh. Well, as a good Catholic, I obviously don't support any of this, but I am happy that you have historical connections that you feel comfortable with, even if
yes.
they're a little bit on the demonic side of things.
I wouldn't characterize it like that exactly, doll, but well, my great uncle's little group, they used to, well, they were quite a presence here in Brindlewood Bay. There are photographs that the group took all over town, in fact, inside restaurants and things, and it might just look like sort of bric-a-brac meant to evoke an era, but it actually has historical significance to me and my family, these photos. I try to find them whenever I can.
You know, my great grandmother always thought that photos steal your soul away. You get your picture taken and it just steals your soul
She
away.
laughs. What a ridiculous idea.
Yes. Well, anyway, it was really nice to see you, Corinne.
You
I should
too,
probably
doll.
catch up with my friend.
The ninth step.
Leslie.
We're just a few doors down. You should certainly come by, you and the other mavens.
Right. Well, then maybe you and your friend should come by the church on Sunday.
Oh,
We're having
I
a
don't...
really nice little get together after the mass.
Oh, well, what about the potluck that Alice and I are holding at her house?
Does Alice know about this?
We definitely discussed it. All right, then. I will let you go do whatever you're doing. Quite a day today, hmm?
Yes, the explosion that was in the murder. It's been a whole day. I can't.
Oh, yes, all of that stuff, too. All right, then. Have a good one.
Bye. Cannot believe Rosemary left me alone with this woman.
Very good. I think we should go ahead and take kind of a little 10-ish minute break so that you all can have some time to think about your theory, and then we'll come back and we'll get into it on call. So let's just take 10 so you all can think about it, and if you want to chat off mic, that's fine too, and then we'll theorize. Right? So the mavens are all at the clinic, and we're going to discuss your theory of the case. Let's review the clues for people who are watching the video. So we know that Zoe Grant and Mort Jr. have something going on. They shared a passionate kiss. There were burnt pumpkin donuts with Desmond's body, seemingly hastily stashed. A smashed Blue Hubbard squash. There was an engagement ring being baked into a pie. Mort Sr. has a diagnosis and that is inoperable, some sort of sickness. A blood-splattered wrench was found in the pumpkin patch. There's also a secret loofah gourd patch in the pumpkin patch. And someone had drugged Charity. And even though they're not capital C clues, I think it's probably relevant that someone put a rattlesnake in Charity's loft, and also Charity, the oven blew up on her. So those are probably relevant details as well. Or maybe either or both are just a red herring, but in any case, they are worth pointing out. So if you can work all 8 clues in, you'll get a +2 on your roll, which is very, very good. You don't have to, but that maybe should be what you're aiming for. Who has a theory they want to go ahead and propose?
It was Hot Todd.
It was Hot Todd.
It was Hot Todd. Okay,
Hot Todd.
interesting.
Regrettably, it was Hot
It was
Todd.
regrettably
I
it was
know.
Hot Todd.
Coming, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It hurts all of us.
Well,
I'm fine.
he's apparently secretly an MRA freak, so
Yeah.
throw him to
Yeah,
the wolves.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were so endeared to him until that
Yeah.
very moment.
He's like a
it's-
gamer gator.
Exactly. Well, the reason Hot Todd is doing all this is its line of succession. It is the Billingsley family legacy of the pumpkin farm that he
Okay.
is trying to seize
Okay.
because Mort is ill. He has a diagnosis. He's
Right.
terminally ill. He's going to die. And Uncle Desmond would stand to inherit the pumpkin farm. And
So that would be, just to point out, that would be a will indicating as such, because if there was no will, it would go to the boys. So
well, that's true. That is true.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that means Mort and Grace have decided Desmond is going to be next, right? So
Yeah. Well, because like, was Uncle Desmond like a capable guy?
we don't really know, to be honest.
Okay.
We haven't really established that, but we can say he was. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
We can say that he was a capable guy. I mean, like we can say that. Oh, we can say that in the pictures of from the paint the scene where we saw all like the different kind of attractions and people coming over the years. Like Desmond was like the most popular like Billingsley on the farm.
Maybe it was his
Like-
squash. Maybe he grew that Blue Hubbard squash, you know?
Mhm.
Oh
Ah,
yeah.
Yeah.
And we established that since Todd may have possibly sabotaged the scarecrow competition so that he could win with his hunky scarecrow, he probably stomped out that Blue Hubbard squash in a fit of of anger. But the
yeah.
idea being that Mortimer's diagnosis, his sickness, it's progressing faster than anyone expected. So he's like, they don't expect him to like survive past like Christmas at the latest. Like this is his swan song. So like Todd's like desperate. So he clobbers Uncle Desmond in the field with the wrench
Sure.
that was lying around.
Those two
strings
most
him up.
I should point out most likely to be there, because we established that of the three sort of working hands of the farm are Desmond, MJ, and Todd, right? And MJ hated
Yeah.
it. So like most likely Desmond and Todd are going to be out there alone.
Yeah. So and I'll leave some of the other clues for my fellow mavens to begin contextualizing in here as well. But I will say, now, why would Todd want to take over the Billingsley pumpkin farm? What aspirations does this hunky man have with a family-run business that is very seasonally attractive? This is where the loofah patch comes in. Todd has greater aspirations in the world beyond just pumpkins. He was trying to convince his family to expand what they grew on the farm and appeal to a wider audience, modern sensibilities. He started growing loofahs because he wants to create a shower luxury goods side business where he can be the model of the loofah products for
Right,
his own business for shower goods. And the family didn't want him to do that. They thought it was dumb because it is.
So he has a whole like health and beauty thing that he's trying to do. How interesting that.
And it makes sense to diversify, because if pumpkins are
Yeah.
really only popular in autumn, then having pumpkins all throughout the year for your moisturizers and your bath bombs and all that other stuff.
A whole wellness line.
How intriguing that Corinne Waitley just happened to be here today, given her focus on wellness and health and beauty. She's we've established last time that she's very superficial in a lot of ways. She even like
maybe Todd was making some groundwork.
She made some
get it
remarks
on the
about
ground
Grace.
floor.
Remember, she made some remarks about Grace being frumpy dumpy. So very intriguing, very intriguing. Okay, so that may be neither here nor there, but okay, so we've got the smashed Blue Hubbard squash was Desmond's, and just whoever killed him was pissed about that. Mort's diagnosis. Okay, where we're saying that everything was going to go to Desmond, which of course I don't think MJ cared, but clearly Todd did.
It could have been that Charity in the ambulance specifically had said as part of her thing that like she had mentioned in like a slight passing comment about like and giving it all to Desmond. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. I'm still not quite convinced of why Todd specifically would do this, because presumably Mort Jr. would want it too, so he could just sell it. He just wants to sell it. So why does Todd have more motive here?
Well, MJ, who's very emo and who has not been, the most kind of like lovey-dovey, started started to have some liaisons with Zoe Grant out and about in the cornfields and stuff.
That is true. Yeah.
And who better to help kind of share this time, this kind of this love of pumpkin patching than Zoe Grant, to have somebody it's one thing for MJ to be doing this by himself, but like maybe having a partner, starting to see the romance a little bit, at the bottom floor, the bottom level, MJ, yeah, of course he hates it.
Oh, but, she was softening him up for
he's starting to soften up with Zoe.
She actually loves the pumpkin patch. She actually
Yeah.
loves this place, even though she doesn't act like it.
It's
That's
like
why she keeps coming back to work here.
It's like that thing where it's like you have two people in a situation where they don't want to be in, and they kind of like drift towards one another, and they kind of realize, actually, we really don't mind doing this together. And the thing is, though, I think actually what Jason, you said actually should still stand. I think MJ was planning on selling the farm until he fell in love with Zoe and was now thinking about, oh, maybe I can take over, or not even to take over, just have a serious stake in this and like
and so
actually
now,
devote.
and so if MJ is next in succession because he is the oldest son,
Mhm.
if he's next in succession, that means, so when he was going to sell it, at least Todd would have gotten half, right?
Yeah.
But now that he's not going to sell, well, okay, so if it would have gone evenly to Todd and MJ after Desmond, there's a situation where, okay, MJ sells or he doesn't sell. If MJ sells, Todd just gets the cash, which he probably can't object to too much, but maybe Todd really likes the pumpkin patch. I don't know, who knows? He obviously has other plans. He's got his loofahs and all that. But then there's the situation of where MJ decides to keep the pumpkin farm, and maybe, so I'm curious, like, if Zoe is the one who's like causing MJ to warm up to the idea of the pumpkin farm, why, like, at what point, like, what is Todd's relationship to MJ in all this? Like, does Todd care about MJ? Like, is he okay being a half partner? Like, what do we think?
I think Todd, being the youngest, has always sort of been doted on by his mother, and so it doesn't have necessarily the greatest relationship with MJ. Bit of sibling rivalry in there. And I think Zoe is strangely very traditional about this pumpkin patch. Keep it pumpkiny. You gotta, you don't change things. Keep it just exactly as it is, because that's what people come here for. That's what people enjoy, and it's a staple in Brindlewood Bay. So I think if MJ is sort of the main person in charge of the pumpkin patch according to the will, maybe because of Zoe, he wouldn't allow anything to change.
And yet Todd didn't do anything to MJ, though. If we're saying it's
yet.
Todd.
Yes.
That's my theory, is that the engagement ring in the box, that was going to be from MJ to Zoe, and he was getting Charity to bake it into a pie as a bit of romance. The ring was picked up in town by Todd, and somehow a whole bunch of gunpowder got into it.
Here's my thought on that.
Dangerous.
Here's my thought on that. Todd was trying to make this be a little bit more drawn out. Like, he obviously murdering all of your, like, the members of the farm to, like, so you can secure your place of owning the stake in it would be absurd. It would incriminate you immediately. So here's what happened. Todd planned this as to be like a longer thing. Desmond was supposed to die today, and in the chaos, like, he was going to also implicate Charity. I'll get to that in a moment. Here's where things went a little higgledy-piggledy. He had planned eventually to kill his older brother MJ, and maybe even Zoe as well, but probably just MJ. And this ring, because I really fucking like this gunpowder ring idea. The idea being that Todd made this. Todd's done a bit of, like, handiwork on the farm here and there. He hefts a wrench. She can do, help out here and there. He rigged up a really stupid kind of like trap ring, fully with the intention of it, like, of detonating it much later down, like really far down the line. So what happened today at the farm was, after Desmond got clobbered and strung up in the chaos, Todd had planned to implicate Charity, and he had like this whole elaborate scheme planned for this. Yeah, exactly.
The burnt donuts.
The burnt donuts left on the corpse. And specifically, meanwhile, while there was chaos on the farm, he snuck into the kitchen. Well, not snuck. He walked into the kitchen. Obviously, he was part of the business, and offered her just like a donut that he had lying around. And, Charity had a light case of the munchies at that moment, not realizing that Todd had laced this thing to be an extremely potent edible. That was obviously not great. So it took her out of commission, and like she got like real messed up on it, and was just kind of like sitting in the corner, just really high. And he turned the gas all the way up, not knowing the oven was on. He just left the gas on just so like it would, he cranked it up, not realizing that by cranking it up, he was actually increasing the heat of the already turned on oven, and did not know that Charity was aware of the engagement ring plan and had specifically been asked by MJ to bake it into a cake, and the increased heat in the oven that Todd turned on with the intention of gas poisoning her instead caused the gunpowder to explode in the cake and cause the explosion.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I like it.
Todd
Okay.
didn't realize that MJ was going to ask Charity to do this.
Because
So we're
Todd's
gonna-
an
It was
idiot.
going to be traditional because Todd's dumb. He's
Yeah.
bad at this.
So we're kind of retconning the ring clue a little bit, which is totally within the rules
Yeah.
of the game.
Mhm.
We're retconning the ring clue a little bit to say that like it wasn't like just a ring found in a prepared pie crust. It was like a ring found in a pie tin that was blown up. Essentially, it was like
Mhm.
connected to the explosion. Okay, I like that. That's really interesting. So he intended to kill MJ. Then
I think
is what we're getting at.
because you don't want to bake the box into there. What the ring was inside the cake, and then in addition to the exploded pie crust pie tin on the counter, there was an open engagement ring box that from where she had opened it and put it in while putting it inside the cake.
So then Charity was just it was just happenstance with Charity
Yeah.
then. So
Mm-hmm.
like he didn't
Yeah.
need to do anything with Charity. And that makes sense
Well-
because he probably, if he baked the donuts to give to her, to drug her, that's why they're burnt, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing baking anything. Right. So like
he drugged her with the intention of like cranking
Yeah.
up the gas real high.
yeah.
And then maybe she'd die by gas poisoning, or maybe like she'd be found and delirious, and he would work out the plan from there. But
the
either
idea
way,
was
Plan was
the
to
idea was dependent on
pin it.
her though.
Pin it on her, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Wow, Todd is real dumb, but also weirdly ingenious in his dumb hot way.
Still
So
hot?
dumb
Weird.
they wouldn't expect it at all.
Okay, let's review the clues. So Zoe Grant and MJ shared a passionate kiss. This just speaks to the idea of MJ warming up to the pumpkin patch in general, which is not what Todd wants. The burnt pumpkin donuts with the body, I think, is an indication of what Todd's plan was, which was to pin it all on Charity. The blue Hubbard squash is mostly just a sort of psychic expression, or a sort of like
we can say that Todd had like squash guts hanging off of his shoe at one point.
that's good. Yeah, I like that. And this is a squash that Desmond had raised, and so if Desmond, it just speaks to the idea that if Desmond gets hold of the pumpkin farm, I'm fucked, right? So love all that. Mort obviously is going to die, so that's the thing that kicks all this off. The blood splattered wrench is almost certainly the weapon that was used to kill poor Desmond. The secret loofah patch speaks to Todd's motives. We can even maybe say that I kind of like the idea of adding a little extra context that basically because we know that Grace was going to ninth step, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of like the idea of the reason why she was going to ninth step is because Todd was like, you should go to ninth step, right? Because he's been getting into wellness and health as part of his burgeoning online persona. And then of course, Charity was drugged with the donut. I think that the one thing I can't figure out, it's a good theory, but the one thing I can't figure out is if he's going to pin it on Charity, why string up Desmond like a scarecrow? That part I can't sort out.
Because here's something. This might be like really silly, but it might play into like how just petty and dumb Todd is.
He's
Going
clearly
back to the-
petty. I mean, he's clearly got a
yeah.
petty streak. Yeah.
Going back to the paint the scene question, Todd sabotaged all the scarecrows so that his would win. Desmond had like really vitriolically like said that yours is like pretty stupid. Like you're using chicken wire to frame pecs.
Oh, it's just petty. Oh, I love it. It's just pure pettiness. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The also the snake situation.
Well,
Nobody
yeah, the
put a
snake,
snake.
yeah.
There was no rattlesnake. Doll was on a contact high, just leaving the room.
There was never a rattlesnake. Okay,
No.
good.
That's so good.
Doll was just fucking high.
Yeah, Doll there was just a lot happening in that room.
Yeah.
Is it that literally Doll like from like, oh, what if she actually like idly like was looking around and like picked up the little like leftover piece of the pumpkin donut that was responsible for getting Charity super high. And
Oh,
she
you
was
ate
like-
one of
was
the
like, "Oh,
donuts?
a
Yeah.
snack.
Didn't even notice, like just, casually did
It was small
yeah.
enough that like the dosage was just like barely, yeah.
Yeah, and she gets that sort of anxious high. So her brain was trying to figure out what to pin the anxiety on, and it was this poor little garden snake.
I love it. Okay, you've got a +2 on your roll here. Who wants to take the dice?
I say Alex.
Okay, I'll do it.
You really ran with a lot of that. That was great.
Oh, thanks. I'm really proud of the loofah part.
Mhm.
What'd
Wait,
you
a
get?
+2?
Yeah,
12.
12.
Oh.
Oh,
Nice.
what happens on a 12? Let's read the move. I know something different happens. I promise I wrote the game. I don't remember though. Okay, on a 10, it's correct, and I'll present an opportunity to take down the culprit or otherwise save the day. That's no problem. On a 12 plus, a person involved in the dark conspiracy of Brindlewood Bay also reveals themselves to the Mavens. Now, at this point, the Mavens don't know anything about the dark conspiracy, but as players will know, and that'll be fun. Okay, I love it. I think the way this is going to go is it's going to just basically going to just confirm what was previously just a theory. You are going to overhear a conversation between Corinne Waitley and Hot Todd. They're at a little outdoor restaurant. It's the evening. And Corinne is saying to Todd, well, I think your plans for the farm are terrific, Todd. A line of health and beauty products is certainly something that the Ninth Step can get behind. We are also always trying to expand our lists of goods and services that we provide to people. I even think that you would be a terrific representative for the Ninth Step, Todd. At the Ninth Step, we take a slightly different approach to wellness and self-actualization. For decades, people have been taught by pop culture and the media that individuality is something that people should embrace. Be who you are, be your unique you. And I say no to all of that. I think there is spiritual enlightenment to be found in conformity. I think what this world needs a little more of is a little more uniformity. And you, young man, with your broad shoulders and chest and your well-defined jawline and good looks, you are something of a poster child for what others can aspire to if only they discard the illusion of being a unique snowflake. And so that just sews up the whole theory, basically. And also reveals that Corinne's got some fucked up views about the world. And so, how do you go about hooking Todd? What's this going to look like?
Well, we're having a potluck, right?
You are indeed, yeah.
Over at Alice's.
Oh, yeah.
You should invite Deputy Brett and Todd because
Alice's house is where all the mystery resolutions take place. That's
Come
where
on, knock on our door.
Yeah, like definitely we can invite Deputy Brett's because
Deputy
like
Brett and, yeah.
because
Mhm.
Brett likes Todd.
He does, yeah.
Oh, poor Brett.
I know. There's lots of other people that Brett can low-key stalk in the setting.
Not an important detail, but I will absolutely be crank calling Deputy Spratt and sending him to the other side of town.
So we'll say that Sheriff Dalrymple and Brett are there. And I think that's great. obviously Corinne's there and Todd is there.
Do we want to
Um,
invite more than just Todd, or is the sole Billingsley?
Well, so
The
everyone's
only other
kind of
one left
they're
is
all mourning
Grace,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
well,
Yeah.
well,
The
mourning,
mourning
Grace
or-
and MJ, they're all there. Yeah, but they're probably like proper grieving though,
Yeah.
right? Todd's not. So Todd grieves in his own way, which is to make business deals with shady new age groups. So yeah, I like
Do we
that.
want
Okay,
to do this
good.
at our
So the
house?
party.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Sheriff Dalrymple, he's kind of the first to arrive, and he says, "Let me guess." And he's dressed down. Sheriff Dalrymple is really something to see. I think he wears he's got like a blue gingham, button down shirt, and he's relaxed for the evening, right? And he kind of well, okay, first of all, what did you all bring to the potluck?
Haggis.
Good old mac and cheese.
Cod tongues.
Hot tongues, mac and cheese. You might as well just brought a Carl. Alice is gonna bring some chicken and dumplings. Is gonna make some chicken and dumplings, and has some cinnamon moonshine ready for the guests and everything.
Corinne is looking over the dishes and she says, "Oh, what wonderful dishes you've all brought. I made my famous quinoa," and she puts her quinoa down on the table. No seasoning whatsoever, just the grains.
There's like one sprig of kale
Yeah.
just on
Yes.
top.
Muriel
A
looks
dusting
at
of parsley, and that's it. Yeah.
Muriel looks at Doll and says, "What the hell's a quinoa?"
It's
I
like
don't-
rice.
I don't know. It looks kind of,
Unseasoned,
yeah.
bland.
It just needs a bit of salt, I think. It should be fine.
Sheriff Dalrymple comes. Sheriff Dalrymple makes or his Mrs. Dalrymple probably, but he makes a really fabulous multi-layered chessman banana pudding. It's quite delicious.
Ooh.
And out of character, I make a really delicious multi-layered chessman banana pudding. And Deputy Brett just brings like a 12-pack of La Croix. I don't think he's and then let's see what else. Who else brings what? Oh, and then Todd, of course, comes. I suppose Todd will bring donuts.
Burnt donuts.
Yeah.
Burnt pumpkin donuts.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So anyway, the party's going. Sheriff Dalrymple, before he arrives before everybody, and he says, "So, ladies, let me guess. I did not get this invitation because you all enjoy my sparkling personality. You have a theory about what happened up at the Billingsley farm earlier today, don't you?"
Depends on what you brought for the potluck, Sheriff, but you would be correct in that assessment.
All right, then. Well, lay it on me. And then you can just tell them the whole deal.
Mhm.
And Corinne, who's just sort of hovering, she inserts herself into the conversation and she says, "Let me guess. The murder mavens are on the case again."
Oh, that is a very apt name for us, I suppose.
Sure.
So
Well,
nice of you to host this.
In Alice's home.
Well, I like to think that when you are achieving the higher levels of self-awareness and consciousness that you reach once you do get to the 9th step, you start to...
Stuff that quinoa on your gob, lady.
She's like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what half those words mean." When you reach a
It
certain
means
level...
eat shit.
My goodness. Well, I can see it's that sort of thing.
Rosemary and Muriel are just very spirited when it comes to when they have a bit of shine in them. I apologize, Corinne, but I think it's fair to say that, like, I remember you said something about having a descendant here in town, and I think have you looked into maybe moving into that home?
And she says, all right, point taken, ladies. Message received. And at this point, she sees Todd's car pull up and she says, I think it's probably best if I go.
Mhm.
And she goes outside and she's actually like trying to actively get Todd to leave. What do you do?
Oh,
Can I? No, I'll hold that thought for now. Actually, if no one else does have an idea, you know what? I'll go ahead.
I mean, Alice is gonna walk out
I'll
and
walk out
say
with her.
Corinne, you forgot to take a plate home, sweetheart.
She's like, oh, I'll be all right, thanks. And she's kind of like quickly walking up to the car.
Is that as I live and breathe? I didn't think that you were gonna come and visit us. And Alice is just gonna just walk directly up there and be like, "Is that Todd Billingsley?"
And Todd puts on his best 1,000,000-watt smile and he says, oh, well, it certainly is, Miss Ollinger. Thanks so much for the invitation.
I never would have thought that you would have come with poor sweet Desmond and everything like that, and Charity having that fainting case and everything like that. But I am just so delighted that you made some time for little old me in your schedule. Corinne, what were we just talking about? How wonderful it'd be to have more guests around here.
I was actually just going, Todd, I desperately need to go pick up something from the convenience store. Maybe you could give me a ride. And Todd's like, sure, I guess. And then Wyman Dalrymple will come out at that point and say, son, you're going to have to just stop right there. I got to ask you a few questions. And at that point, Corinne and Todd will get out and an investigation will ensue. Todd will break down almost immediately and confess to everything.
I was just about to say he totally folds like a wet piece of paper.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, of course he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Corinne has like her best shocked look on her face. And she turns to the four of you and she says, well, seems like trouble follows you ladies everywhere you go.
and then you follow along with us.
Oh, Miss Waitley, you forgot something.
Oh no.
Stomp up the steps back into the house. Come back out and I throw the spare key Alice gave her onto the driveway.
The spare key to
Her house. The house.
Mhm.
Yeah. Unless you weren't planning on staying anymore.
No, I think perhaps I've overstayed my welcome. But I'll be around, ladies. I don't think you've seen the last of me or the ninth step. I do hope that we'll be able to continue this conversation. And indeed, I hope you will allow me to help you with your journey of personal growth and enlightenment. And she turns and walks out the little gate. And I think that will conclude Decorative Gore season. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and start the next mystery. Be thinking about your Halloween costume, ladies.
Yeah.
See you in 5. All right. It's time for Cozy Vignettes at the start of our show. Who wants to narrate a cozy vignette?
Oh, I've got one. We see Doll and she's out at the pumpkin patch, out at Pumpkin Mart. It's been a little while, not a huge amount of time, but a little while, and things have sort of calmed down. You can't really tell that there's been a murder here recently. The crowds have started to file back in because we're getting close to Halloween. And people are picking up, pumpkins for their jack-o'-lanterns and such. Doll is humming to herself and wandering through the pumpkin patch. In her hand, she has a bingo card. And on the card, it's little things that a little scavenger hunt, things like a pumpkin shaped like a heart, or two pumpkins that look like they're talking to each other, just little cute Halloweeny style things to scavenger hunt out in the pumpkin patch. And she's having a really nice time. And I think part of it too is to help her feel a little bit better about what happened out here and to sort of get back on the horse and make sure there's no snakes around, because I think that really, she's been having nightmares. It's been a whole thing. Lots of snakes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Muriel is at the local Brindlewood Bay Pottery Club with all other locals who are engaged in sculpting and all that kind of fun stuff. And we see panning shots of the other women and men who are in this group, in this class. And, one of them's making a dainty little cup. One of them has made kind of a nice short vase. Another one is working on, carefully carving clay away to sculpt a little like crow kind of thing. And then it gets to the end of the table where we see Muriel, who is caked in wet clay with her smock on, and is currently like making this truly massive life-size clay pumpkin that she is slapping the clay onto and like roughly going on. You see that shot where it's like the entire line before her like turn their heads to look at her, and then she just kind of like looks over at them with like a what kind of expression, and then
we see Alice Olinger walking down the street, pausing and seeing somebody stand behind her. She's taking photos, doesn't realize it's almost John Carpenter's Halloween in Nature. And then she stops, she takes more photos, keeps walking. And then we see a hand reach out and tap her on the shoulder, and she whips around. And it's just a couple of kids in their Halloween costumes. They do the boo thing, and she goes, "Oh, you got me, kids," and then pulls out some candy from her purse, some butterscotch, and puts it in their little pails, and then wags a finger. What's going on?
I have to note that the theme song currently is the Halloween version of it. Like, it has like little creepy little bells in the background.
a theremin.
Yeah, it's definitely got theremin, right? Yeah.
And we see Rosemary dressed up in a witch's costume as she's handing out pamphlets and whatnot in advertising. Ooh, Halloween movie nights benefits, like kids doing trick-or-treating and just like getting like the lot space for like trunk or treat. So
Fabulous. Thank you all, everyone. Well, viewers, if you hadn't guessed, we are getting ready to do a Halloween-themed mystery. Indeed, that mystery is All Hallows Scream. Another complexity 6. You're getting all these slightly easier ones here, which is fine. You are guests at a Halloween party being thrown at the fabulous Brindlewood Bay home of Abner and Coco Vidal. Abner, a retired filmmaker famous for Gonzo B-grade pictures, greets you all at the front door. As you arrive, he is wearing a King Tut costume. Paint the scene. As you approach the Vidal's home, what ostentatious thing do you see outside that reminds you the Vidals don't fit in with Brindlewood Bay's stuffy upper crust? Also, tell me about the costume you are wearing tonight.
The Vidals do not have wrought iron furniture out front and things of that nature. They got lawn chairs. Come on now. Come on. Just got a couple fold-up lawn chairs. You don't need much. What do you got to move that? What do you got people playing football on the front lawn, Gotta be able to move those chairs. Wrought iron, it's bad for your back. So yeah, they've got lawn chairs. And you see Alice is currently wearing a Hamburglar costume. Or not Hamburglar, but cheese thief, or sandwich thief. is very much the Party City version of a Hamburglar costume. So instead of like black and white lines, it's like a cat burglar type look with a bowler cap instead of a flat like cap, with a red mask instead of a black one, that kind of thing.
And a BLT instead of a burger.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, BLT. Yeah.
Good. I love it.
I think going along with the lawn chairs out on the lawn, we also see so they like to host out on their front lawn, which is a weird thing to do, but they like to do that. So you can see various different lawn game items. There's a Beersby pole set up for people to play Beersby. There's like not stuffy, old lady kind of things like croquet. It's party lawn games out there. And Doll walking up towards the house has a look of just, no, this is just disgust on her face looking around at this. It's so improper. She is dressed in a yellow raincoat and a yellow sou'wester and some rubber boots. She is, of course, a sailor.
Very good.
I think that the Vidal family, they have whereas, you see the really quaint, cozy decorations of the other houses in the village, whether it's cobwebs and pumpkins and what have you. The Vidal Manor is the only true like rager in town. Like they have the light set up, so like just blaring out of all the windows are just a multi-chromatic strobe of blues, greens, pinks, purples. Their front door, when you open it, it has like that like swirling kind of like light kind of effect where the fog machine rolls out of. It is blaringly loud.
Like everyone else decorated their Halloween with like Pottery Barn, and they did like Spirit, basically. Yeah. Okay, good. I love it.
My cat just clawed down my leg. Okay. They have inflatables, they have like ghosts and skeletons and any sort of like mainstream movie Halloween sort of things, but however, due to this being a TV show, it's off-brand sort of stuff. Rosemary is what we would call like a 2-tier costume. Like currently she is wearing pajama party like costume-esque on because she's not quite sure of the Abners and what sort of tastes, as well as the party guests there. Like she could get real wild now, but this is tame for the start.
And since I forgot to narrate mine, I'm going to describe it as if it was a panning up shot from the legs up. Okay. Because going from the legs, it looks like Muriel. She's got, and you see that the tartan kilt skirt, same as well. But as it pans up the upper body, you realize that there's a lot of like leather, like straps and like queerest kind of thing. And you see that from the back, she has hefted a big old sword over her shoulder. And she's wearing a brown wig, and then as you see the front of her face, she has smeared blue paint down her face to be William Wallace from Braveheart.
I love it. It's great. Very good. Very good. Abner is there greeting you all as you come in. A couple of other guests were kind of ahead of you, and I think there's all these like really like tacky plastic tombstones along the little path that you walk up, and sound machines and a fog machine, all this nonsense. And he's there in his King Tut costume, and I think he sees you, Alice, and he like automatically knows who you are. He's like, "You're the sandwich thief." Oh, I love it. That's great. I love the sandwich thief. He's great.
King Tut.
You got it. Yeah.
Does walk like an Egyptian. Yeah. Exactly. The bangles.
The whole thing. Yeah. I love the bangles. They're great. He's like, I don't know if you know this or not, but we actually did a little for a short time in the mid 80s, I was sponsoring a sort of, well, let's say you would characterize them as off-brand musical acts. The group that we sponsored were the Bungles. I don't know if you ever heard of them. I don't think you probably did, but they were
want
great.
to.
Yes, I think you ought. He's like, it's so nice to have you. I'm so delighted to have the Murder Mavens here. You're all a legend. It's terrific. It's so great. And I think he sees your mural and he's like, oh, that's a great costume. Freedom! He's like, yeah, that's terrific stuff. Yeah, that's so good. I myself am a very, very big fan of historical movies and big, well, sort of how should we say, Oscar bait type films, but they don't let me make those. That was not my lane, unfortunately. But welcome. He kind of sees Rosemary and Rosemary's costume, which is just a house coat so far. And he's like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be that kind of party, but who knows? And then he sees you, doll, and he's like, oh, this is great. Are you like that little boy from It?
What? No, I'm a fishing boat sailor. You live in Brindlewood Bay. You should know what a fishing boat
We made a
sailor looks
movie.
like.
We made a filmic version of Stephen King's It. Of course, we couldn't get the rights to it, so it was called that.
Well, I don't watch horror movies myself. I just won't be able to sleep. I did bring you a hostess gift or host gift. Sorry, just usually it's the wife that I'm talking to.
He takes it and what is it? What do you give him?
Oh, I think it's just a Tupperware container full of cooked capelin,
Yeah,
which are like those little
like
fish that you eat
passes it
whole.
on to someone. Yeah, and he's like, come in. This is we're gonna have a great time tonight. You know, it's a fairly small shindig, if I'm being honest. I sent out quite a few invitations, but not many people replied. I don't know if Coco and I have really done a good job of ingratiating ourselves with the locals so far, but really, really happy to have you. Let's walk like an Egyptian right on through the foyer here. And
Well, Abner, if you're finding yourself not fitting in the neighborhood, perhaps you might think of toning down the decor that you have. It's just a lot of lights and blow up things, and maybe just sort of put out a couple of pumpkins,
he's like,
maybe a little
but Ms.
sheep
Ryan,
roast.
it's Halloween. It's a time to have fun. And I think as soon as you walk into the main entry hall, this is a mansion. It's a big, beautiful kind of modern mansion. Fucking towering posters of his terrible movies, and like there's an animatronic at the front door of a werewolf in an evening gown. It's from his film Werewolf Sings the Blues, and as everyone walks in, like this animatronic werewolf is like singing like some like jazz standard. You know, you hear the Monster Mash playing on the sound system throughout the house. Lobby posters, but blown up to like enormous towering size, of Abner's greatest hits in the world of film: Return of the Devil Women from Planet X, Zombie High School, Barracuda 2, The Cuda Sleeps at Night, and Barracuda 8, Cuda in Space. It's a whole thing. You are greeted.
When Muriel enters, she very casually takes the broadsword off of her shoulders and just like slides it into like the umbrella like rack, you know, to like.
I love it. So the party is mainly taking place in, at least at the start, in the bar, which is really kind of like it's meant to be like kind of like a lounge or a sitting room, but it actually looks like a bar. Like there is a bar there with a mirror and a bunch of like glasses and drinks and stuff, and it's kind of like dimly lit. This is it does have more decor. It's very, very like Halloween decor, but it's decor using props from Abner's horror movies. I need for you each, as I paint the scene, to please come up with a name for one of Abner's schlock masterpieces and then describe the prop from that movie that is here to add the ambiance.
one of the things we see is a big poster, and it is from a movie that Doll has actually seen. She got tricked into seeing it. She thought it was going to be a musical. It was called The Pirates of Penzance 2, The Pirates versus Dracula. And the item on display is the bejeweled codpiece that Dracula wore when he was captaining his ship.
Very good for Halloween decor.
We've got a collection of animatronic. They look like minions. They're wearing overalls. But they've got like more like mottled, speckled skin, long snouts, little whiskers at the end of it. And they've got big old goggles and helmets. But they are a collection of the costumes that they made children wear for the Mole Miners of Death Valley, which was a movie about a family that goes on a vacation to Death Valley, and they come across the titled Mole Miners, and madness and horror ensues.
One of Abner's earlier films was a riff on a German expressionist classic that Abner called The Cabinet of Dr. Calamari, which was about a mad scientist who wished to genetically merge people with squids. And in here is the cabinet, which is this like very like Baroque, multi-doored display filled with like strange beakers and vials, and there's like a whole like, you know, taxidermied like squid splayed out in a display case.
And then they were also able to use that for the Pirates of Penzance 2 as well. So it all kind of comes together.
I think one of Abner's less renowned films, because it was technically co-directed with like a college student. I Was a Teenage Cultist for like their thesis film. They won a contest and whatever, and like he helped direct it, and like it's a lot of like very shoddy props from that movie, but one that Abner has kept was something that he brought to it, and it was this big this like skeleton of that was just painted it red with like, and it has been bedazzled.
Can I add a little tidbit just for fun?
Yeah.
I feel like I Was a Teenage Cultist is actually the only really good movie that Abner ever made.
I think he's like, you know, he's kind of ushering you in to the bar, and you know, I think we're gonna meet all of the other like sort of the eventual suspects, we'll say, here in the bar. Well, first of all, you are greeted when you enter the bar by Coco Vidal, who is a very kind of airheaded, very sweet woman. She's wearing a Cleopatra costume, of course. And she, you know, she has like a tray of like champagne flutes, and she will give one to you ladies. At the bar, tending bar is Marcus Greaves. He actually is not wearing a costume at all, but he's quite handsome, very piercing eyes, and a little bit of, you know, inquiry will let you know that he is he is Abner's business manager. In particular, he's kind of deals with all of his affairs back in Hollywood. There is at the bar a pair of people who are they seem to know each other pretty well, or at least who knows how well they know each other, but they're chatting. One is dressed like the Phantom of the Opera. The other is dressed in a sort of like seductive vampiress costume, kind of an Elvira situation. You can't miss June Willoughby, local socialite. She has, no one else came to the party, but she did. And she is wearing a sort of like sock hop poodle skirt kind of situation. And That's kind of her deal. She's chatting with Gordon Thune, who you also know. He is a local banker. He looks like he's not having any fun at all. He is dressed like Frankenstein's monster. There is also a maid who occasionally swims through the crowd. She's kind of a slightly older woman she just has some cat ears on, and she's moving through the crowd. But what's everyone doing right now?
I think the first thing that Muriel does is like throw her champagne flute into like a potted plant and then walk up to the bar and like with real like Scotsman aplomb, just like hefts herself down in front of it and is just gonna order a really like just heavy liquor cocktail of some whatever the gentleman behind the bar recommends.
Yeah, Marcus, he'll kind of pour you something, and he's like, "Oh, I love all this. Are you supposed to be like a blue man? What's going on here?"
I'm William Wallace.
William Wallace. It's not ringing a bell.
Have you've seen Braveheart, right?
Oh, right. Braveheart. Yeah, that right. Mel Gibson.
Aye, unfortunately, but the movie still stands.
So William Wallace, is that is that a real person? Is that like a historical thing?
Aye, William Wallace was a very real, very historical person, a Scottish patriot who served his country well and fought for the liberation against England.
I thought it was about the Irish for some reason, but yeah, okay, great. And he's like, well,
Muriel gets really into Braveheart when she starts talking about it. Like,
he's like, well, he kind of sets down this drink for you, and he says, well, I'm Marcus. I am Abner's LA business manager. I didn't have time to pick up a costume on the way, but that's not really my thing anyway. How do you know the Vidals?
it's a great question. How does Muriel know the Vidals? I gotta think about that.
Well, a lot of locals were just invited, so
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Abner and Coco invited us. We have a bit of a streak locally these past few months. Me and my girlies, we call ourselves the Murder Mavens. Solved a few crimes here and there, gained some local notoriety. I like to call it popularity, but you know.
He's like, oh yeah, the Murder Mavens. I've heard about you. Are you all represented by anyone?
Represented? I mean, like, I'd say of the four of us that Alice is the kind of typically at the forefront of most official dealings. I kind of read the fine print on contracts we have to sign, but what
has anyone optioned the film or TV rights yet, is what I'm really getting at here.
Film or TV rights for what?
For your story, the Murder Mavens. That's great.
We've solved 2 crimes.
Someone should make a TV show about that.
But why?
But you know, he's now kind of talking to himself. That's what people are like you for, Marcus. The locals, they don't understand what they've got. It's your job to sort of pull it out and package it and bring it to the masses. That's what God put you on this planet for, Marcus Greaves. How's that drink?
It's a little watered down. What's in this?
We'll cut over to Doll. Doll, what are you doing right now?
This is very much not Doll's element. She doesn't really know any of these people.
I think
They're
June will swan over to you and she'll say, Doll Ryan, you are not the person I expected to be at this little party tonight. I didn't expect myself to be at this little party tonight, but here we are.
How are you doing, June? It's nice to see you.
Oh, Doll. You're such a doll, but I'm sure you get that all the time.
Mostly from you.
Well, I just, I consider it my responsibility as a member of the community to be welcoming, to be a representative for old Brindlewood Bay. And of course, the Vidals are not part of old Brindlewood Bay. And so, I mean, I wouldn't be, what kind of neighbor would I be? What kind of community member would I be if I didn't, show up at these things, make an appearance?
Oh, of course. I mean, it would
I
be
actually
nice to see
pulled this
you.
old thing out of the closet. It still fit.
Huh, I was wondering where you got that ratty old thing. Probably from when you were a teenager.
Well, you are just full of vim and vigor tonight, aren't you, doll?
I'm just wondering why we don't see you ever at the church community events. You always get an invite, and I know
Well,
how important the community is to you.
doll, I'm not Catholic, so there's that. But also, well, I'm just so busy. Sunday's a hard day, when you're a pillar of the community.
Oh, well, you're always welcome. Just because you're not Catholic, not everybody's perfect, and I understand that. God understands that too.
Oh, you're such a doll, like Annabelle. And then she walks off.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
that goes way over Doll's head. Doll has no idea what that means.
I'm not even sure June 100% knows. She probably heard one of her grandkids say something like that once. Alice, what are you doing right now?
I think Alice is shimmying and dancing on the dance floor a little bit, and then take an opportunity to
doing
stop.
the monster mash?
Doing the monster mash, and then opportunity. If you see, if Alice is very picky about who to take pictures of in costumes, it has to be a good costume, a good quality costume. No, no dime store, Party City kind of stuff like she's wearing. She's not a costume person, She sees it, displays it. But yeah, doing a little bit of a dance. We'll sometimes see something creative, take a picture of it, but mostly focus on dancing, having a good time. Especially after the past couple of months and everything. So it's so stressful.
I think the Phantom of the Opera will come over, and he's got a cape and he's doing like Dracula, even though he's Phantom of the Opera, but he's kind of doing a Dracula thing. And he kind of like comes over to you and he says, "You're Alice Ollinger, right?"
Absolutely. I ain't no angel of music, but always happy to be approached by the Phantom. You mind if I get your photo?
He's like, "Angel of music?"
It's a deep cut snap.
He says, so you are Alice Ollinger of, and I think he like says your address, 35 such and such place, right?
That's a bit personal information that you're privy to. It seems that you have me at a disadvantage.
I'm not actually Dracula. I am Sam Turlington. I am local business partner of Abner. We're kind of doing some real estate stuff, and I'm kind of scoping things out. Have you had any thoughts about maybe selling that place?
No.
Oh, all right. Well, and he gets his card out. He gives you his card.
Pretty good card stock on this business card. Why would you want to buy my place in the first place? It's just a ratty old fixer-upper. It's a 2-story. It doesn't even have a turret or a tower like some of the Victorian places around here.
Oh, I mean, we'd tear it down, of course. We just need the land, really. That's all.
Okay, and what's so good about that land? I can barely get anything to grow out in the back of my garden and everything. It's not very fertile.
Well, that wouldn't be necessary either. I mean, my thinking was we would just sort of pave it over, extra parking for this sort of mixed development thing that we're working. Anyway, you let me know if you ever decide you want to sell, and I will fly in on bat wings. He flips his Phantom of the Opera cape a little bit.
That costume isn't what you think it is, sir. I'm just going to let you know right now.
He's like, "Don't worry, I don't want to suck your blood." And then he like swans off.
Man.
Rosemary, what are you doing right now?
Oh, I'm going up to the seductive vampiress.
Oh, this is Elena Visage, star of Abner's movies, at least back in the 80s. She's a little older now, doesn't get the leading roles anymore. Well, Abner doesn't make films anymore anyway. She is already a couple of sheets to the wind. She's had a bit already, as it turns out. She is wearing this sort of plunging neckline black gown. And she introduces herself before you, as you're walking up. She's like, "Hello, I'm Elena Visage of Star and Screen. I am sure you've seen my work. Variety once said my performance in Devil Women from Planet X was the most acting they'd ever seen."
Oh yes, that is one of my favorite of Abner's films. You were so beautiful in that movie.
And she's got like a little pad of paper and a pen. She's like, "Who should I make the autograph out to, dear?"
Rosemary.
Oh, what a lovely name.
Mm-hmm.
Rosemary.
Yeah.
She's like, "Here you go, Rosemary." And then she's written, "Rosemary, I hope you have a wonderful time, THYME.
Oh, that's so clever.
Elena Visage."
Mm-hmm. Are you having a good time here, dear?
Oh, I came into town because, well, back in Hollywood, that's where I live. Back in Hollywood, I would never, ever miss Abner and Coco's Halloween parties. And when I heard they were going to throw their first one out here in this little interesting backwater, no offense, I had to come. I've never missed one. So here I am.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sort of vibe from it because back in the day, the Halloween parties I used to throw for me and my like friends, let's say, they got a little bit wild.
Oh,
I'm not sure about the people around here. They're a bit more traditional.
yes. Well, it is a historical town, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Meanwhile, everyone's just having kind of a good time. Everyone's sort of, it's all vibes. I think Marcus is talking about how they're gonna repurpose they had plans to repurpose the mole miners into a new franchise called Munions, but nothing ever really came of it. And Elena is kind of complaining about how, she has to take grandmotherly roles now, which she doesn't love. Gordon Thune is not having a good time at all. He's only there because, well, Abner is a big account, and so at the bank, so he's made his appearance. All this is happening. I have a question to ask one of you. Doll, or no, who did I ask about the Krauses last time? That was Alice, right? So yeah, Doll, you're having a secret affair with someone at the party. Who is it?
June Willoughby.
I love it. How is that for people who, like, no one knows, but like,
No one knows.
how is that being subtly expressed, that relationship between the two of you?
I think whenever we see each other in public, we kind of snipe at each other a little bit. If you know Doll, you know that she will snipe at people on occasion if she's really irritated, but for the most part, she likes to stay out of arguments. And just, it's better just to be quiet, be polite. But she jumps in on it right away with June. And it's sort of just it's a defense mechanism, like to really make sure nobody knows that this is happening in order to protect June's reputation as a community pillar, which Doll does actually respect. So
I love it. You haven't seen Abner in a while, and even Coco has sort of like expressed some, like, what's going on, like, where is he at, all this stuff is going, and the question is answered directly eventually when Mrs. White, who is the maid, lets out a piercing scream. Abner is on the back closed-in porch his head submerged in a metal tub being used for bobbing for apples. Quite dead. And with that, we will go ahead and end our session for today. Let's go to end of session. Actually, if somebody needs to do a crown, now would be a great time to do it.
I do. I just need a really quick second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, let's do end of session while we're waiting on Doll. You did all solve a murder, so congratulations on that. Everyone's going to get credit for the first question. Rosemary, did you secretly undermine the authority of a local official?
I was bullying Todd for a good portion of the session. He originally he was an authority figure trying to make sure no one would get out of the scene by himself, and I'm like, listen, I'll push you out of the way.
I like it. And did you behave like a woman half your age?
I would say so a couple different times of like me like trying to get into places I'm not supposed to, and like me just kind of a little subtly trying to flirt with Elena, but that may
I'll
not
take
have
it.
come up.
Yeah, I'll take it. No, I like it. Fabulous. We just went to questions real quick. Doll, did you did solve a mystery, so you get credit for that one. Did you dote on someone?
The opposite. I yelled at Al.
Yeah, I think it was kind of the opposite. Did you share your wisdom with a young person?
Not really. I was trying to explain to Al that there was a rattlesnake and not a garden snake up there, but I
I don't
think
know how
that
much
was
wisdom was being
not
shared.
quite
Yeah.
wisdom. Yeah.
Muriel, did you share a memory of a late family member?
I did. I talked about Gavin a few times, and also my dad.
Oh yeah. Did you show someone that you've quote still got it?
The opposite.
Yeah, the opposite. Yeah, I know.
I fully
you definitely
pulled my
did not
back.
have it. Yeah.
I definitely did not.
Alice, did you dote on someone?
Absolutely. I'd say I doted a little bit on Charity. A little bit.
Yeah. Did you share a memory of a late family member?
Yeah,
Oh,
talked
Trooper.
about good
Yeah.
old Trooper.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Talked about how he
Fabulous.
used to throw his back out.
Very good. Okay, now with all that said, let's do your crown.
We see Doll, and she is in her house, in her cozy little space, and sorting through all of her bingo materials, her dabbers and whatnot. And she's thinking about what had just happened out at the pumpkin mart place, the pumpkin patch, about the youngest son doing all these things. And she's thinking back to her favorite memory of her youngest son, Mikey. And this was shortly after her husband had died. Again, he died in the war, which was the antique store that they owned for war memorabilia. And they, shortly after his death, Doll and Mikey took a trip out of Dildo to nearby Spread Eagle to a cabin. And out at this cabin, they just spent a nice week jigging for cod, having Jig's dinner, and having fish and brews and toutons and whatnot, playing lots of TV bingo, of course. And and of course, Mikey won the TV bingo bonanza, which was very exciting. I think she just had a really lovely, intimate time. Normally, having so many kids, you don't get to spend a lot of time one-on-one with them. And it really established a nice relationship between them that they'd never really had before. And she never really established with any of her other kids in the same way. And she kind of wishes that Todd could have done that instead of, murder.
Very good. Are there any other crowns of the queen that need to be narrated?
I do have one. It is a flashback of your fondest memory of your late partner. I think Rosemary has a couple of photo albums, one to share with family, friends, and whatnot, and a private photo album where back in her youth, she would take pictures of like people she was with, herself included, having a grand old time in these sorts of parties, and like she would dress up spectacular in them, and Eminem, he would dress so cute, and there was just this wonderful picture of him just sitting at my feet on display for everyone to see. And it's just, I find that very beautiful.
Fantastic. Is that everything? Okay, then we shall go ahead and do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Big shout out to everybody for rolling with, because we had hot dice, and not in the good way today. And just everybody just picking up and rolling with it. I loved the whole snake interaction. There's nothing more terrifying in my life than seeing a terrarium that's open in a hippie's house. That is a real all too real fear that I have. So very good on that. That was great. Love the little character moments. We're getting a little bit of the one-on-ones as well, and seeing more of the characters come about. I know it's not too easy for this next mystery, but I feel the next one I'm gonna really be able to pull out that Clarice Starling move, and now we have a whole pool that is opening up of suspects to choose from. So I think I know who I'm gonna go with, but it's always a nice surprise, because I might surprise, especially depending on All Hallows Scream, because there's a lot of good suspects to pick from. So we'll see, but I think I know who I'm going with.
Fabulous. I had a great time. I really enjoyed. I thought the two cozy moves were quite good. The scenes were really fun. I also like the snake thing with Doll. That was just really I like this sort of like, it wasn't a rattlesnake after all. It was just Doll freaking out, which I think is pretty terrific. It was also the thing with Muriel hurting her back was really quite funny. That was one of those instances where the dice are kind of helping do the work of like making the story more interesting, right? So that was really good fun. And everyone's ideas for the Vidal's home and the various movies as well were also very funny and enjoyable. And I had a good time. I had a lot of fun playing Corinne. I'm glad that Corinne is sort of kind of revealed to be like a bigger problem in the setting. I mean, you all know already as players, but now it's kind of official, which I think is great. And so for wishes, I'm just excited to see where this goes. I really love All Hallows Scream. There's a lot of stuff to see and do in it, and so I'll be happy to do that.
My star is gonna also echoing that, specifically call out Corinne, the Waitley stuff as well. It was so cool having these last two sessions had her around, and especially in Alice's house. And it was this really cool scene having her like leave. It felt like a very like cinematic. The Mavens are standing on the front lawn as we're kind of staring down the main antagonist and having this kind of beginning of the end seed sprout. That was really fun. I loved how Rosemary stood up to Todd. Marching up to the to go look around the kitchen, I straight up thought, oh, Muriel's gonna have to get real tough here, and we have Rosemary come up and start like, young man, you listen here. Was so good. What else? I love Doll's costume for just being her like just the sailor, but as part of the continued adventures of Doll being really just kind of like, why am I the only sane one? Everyone else around here is crazy. I'm tasteful. It's really funny. And then I loved how for Alice in particular, the interactions always seem to like somehow tie back into the photography. It's really cool, because I'm sure that's gonna like, especially as we continue to get more involved in like dark culty void stuff, I can't wait to see like what happens to those pictures you're taking all the
Waitley's
time.
love cameras. It's a thing.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
know. My
I was
wish
so
is,
glad you introduced Corinne lately when it's like I have a
Mhm.
photographer there. I was like, ah!
Yes.
Amazing.
My wish is I can't wait for people to start marking Crowns of the Void. I'm really excited for that. I want to see who's going to be the first, and I want to see like what our like descent is going to look like. And then my other wish is, I had it, but then I lost it. So I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I have another star, a star for my husband died in the war. That never stops being funny. I love that joke. And also just like I love like Doll's obliviousness about like the like just how like these like towns in Newfoundland and like how dirty they sound and stuff, and like she doesn't seem to be aware of it. I think it's all really great. And another wish as well, which is to for myself, I want to do cut to commercial. I've not done cut to commercial yet, so cut to commercial has to happen. And like the occult move I think would be fun to see eventually too. So
I gotta echo a lot of stars, given I just like how Muriel is like ready to throw down, but Rosemary is equally ready to throw down in her own way. Like I really like that confrontation with Waitley, where like Waitley is like, what are you saying? And I'm like, yeah, this is what Muriel means. I'm also, I find it very interesting that Doll is having an affair with June Willoughby, because holy shit, Doll strikes me as the quote unquote the moral backbone of the group, and like doing this just seems a little bit hypocritical, and I love it, and I'm here for it.
it's massively out of character for both of them, which I think is what makes it great.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to revealing more stuff about Rosemary, because yeah, Rosemary looks like a regular little old lady, but ooh, she's got some secrets.
Yeah, this was this was a lot of fun. There were a lot of moments that I really, really enjoyed. I really loved the conversation between Alice and Chastity when Chastity was like out of it after the explosion. Wes, I really liked how you played Alice in that whole scene where you're trying to get information but also feeling really guilty about doing this to this poor person who was out of it. It just seems so rude. Like, and I think that came across so well, and it was just a really nice, like well-rounded character moment that I really liked. I gosh, my notes are all out of order. One of my notes says I hate all these people, and I think that's all the people at the Vidals. So that's fun. I really liked the theorize. I thought that was just a lot of fun and really honing in on Hot Todd and his big elaborate plan and how it was just too big for his brain. There was no way it was going to work ever, and I thought that was really fun. I really liked how Hot Todd ended up being basically a midwife, which is very strange but awesome. Um, Gosh, I liked all the movies. All the movies were great. And I really enjoyed the subtle flirting that Rosemary was doing with what's her name, Elena Visage. It was not subtle. It was awesome. That was great. I think my wishes are so I wrote it, usually I write my stuff in a good order, and this is confusing. Oh, Gold Crown Mystery. We haven't used that move, I don't think.
We used it last time.
Did we use it last time? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
last session.
that's
Yeah.
how you got Sprat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm confusing it with a different Brindlewood Bay game.
Yeah.
But I still want to have it again. I want to see what's going to happen with Rosemary and Elena Visage, because I liked that flirting. I thought that was great. I want to see, now that Doll and June Willoughby have a thing, I want to know what that is. I have no idea. I just pulled a name out of a hat. And we'll see where that goes. My other wish is, there's that part where we were all trying, well, you were all, and Dell was just standing there, trying to get Hot Todd away from Corinne. And what I really wanted was Muriel to hammer throw something at Corinne.
I thought about it. I thought about it.
I thought of just popping Todd's tires.
That would also be fun.
Um,
Yeah, I want a hammer throw.
It's coming. I'm planning it.
Yes.
I remember my other wish now, and it was that I really want to like have more mystery moments, like when it's possible, that we're like able to like really like leave the scene again and be like, we're gonna like go do other things in the town, and like maybe like you know, if the, you know, we felt pretty confident with making that theorize for the farm then, but if we hadn't, I'd been like, oh yeah, all on board with like, let's go like either sneak back in at night or maybe like go see what we can find around town as well. So I'm excited to kind of just explore more of the setting when the mystery can call for it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's everyone on Stars and Wishes. Is there
Oh,
anything
I'm also
else?
very glad I got to wear my pumpkin dress because I love this dress and I can't really get to wear it this time of year normally.
oh,
Fabulous.
I'm looking forward to maybe eventually revealing my second costume.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have another costume on underneath the robe. Yeah. That'll be fun. We love a reveal.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and wave goodbye to people watching the video.